there was Main Street with buildings right here. There was a lot of activity here. This was industry that was tied into the railroad line, lumber yards, coal yards, things like that. There were residences back here behind the buildings, and it was a functioning part of town. It had begun to deteriorate. It got torn down. We ended up with essentially a suburban strip mall. I think of it in terms of a suburban mentality versus an urban mentality, and I think the suburban mentality is defined largely by one word, and that's isolation. We are isolated from our neighbors. Neighborhoods are isolated from each other. Various uses are isolated from each other. The setback is much greater than it is on the rest of Main Street, so it's withdrawn from Main Street. Most of the fronts for the stores that do go through all the way through are along this parking area. So it's essentially turned its back on Main Street. It really killed activity down on this end of town. We had done a vision study back in the early 90s and identified this site as an opportunity site for redevelopment. And we had some idea of the kinds of uses that we wanted to put in there, but mostly we knew that we wanted to have mixed use. The developer came in and we said, we want more development. We want you to maintain the 140,000 square feet of retail space or increase it. We want somewhere between 70 and 100,000 square feet of office space, and we want the residential units. Everybody was at the table. We were working on the site plan, the redevelopment plan, and the developer's agreement all simultaneously because we wanted to get everybody on the same page. This is the very interesting part of it. This is what's going to happen with revenue allocation financing. Essentially, you need to have a redevelopment area, and you can overlay the redevelopment area with a revenue allocation district. You need to have a revenue allocation plan. First of all, the developer pays full real estate taxes right up front. The municipality can utilize that full real estate tax, the increment, use it to fund bonds that are underwritten by EDA to do infrastructure improvements. As long as we keep putting projects in that pipeline, we get to utilize that money. It's not giving municipalities a fish, it's teaching them how to fish. We are now going to be able to generate enough money to be self-sufficient in a lot of areas where we have not been. We're going to generate somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 million annually to add to our tax revenues, which is going to be the fuse that could provide an additional $6, $7, $8 million a year for the municipal budget. By the way, our municipal budget is currently $13 million a year. So for us, these are fairly significant numbers.